Hiya, welcome back to the Frugal Angler, Artist and Angler. Today I'm not fishing or doing art. I'm at a museum, the Tank Museum in Bovington and Dorset, exploring the collection. This is a female version of the standard World War I British tank. The female version was armoured machine guns. I believe this is a Mark II version, and apparently the only one remaining. The rest was scrapped after the First World War. This is a Vickers Armstrong Mark E tank. Apparently the Finns used them in the Winter War in 1939, and it reminds me of some of the Japanese tanks that are out that time, and the Russian BT-6 tanks like the Japanese. I think it's called the Type 95. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if the Japanese got a lot of their designs from the British, although I'm not 100% sure of that. I like the camouflage in this tank. I quite like that tank here. It's the, they nicknamed it the Whippet, and it's got hot skids, which are French, I believe, machine guns on the side, on both sides of it. I think there's one that goes in the front as well. I believe there might be one that goes in the rear, I can't remember. Yeah, they've got a rear machine gun as well. So it must have been pretty, well, I suppose, pretty cramped in there. I'm not quite sure how many crew members you had in this tank, but apparently they were one of the faster British tanks at the time compared to the slow sort of male and female tanks. Like, I'm not really hot on tanks. I mean, I do like them. I've always made models and been interested, but I'm not like a rivet counter with them, should we say. So bear with me if I make any mistakes. This tank here is a Panzer II. They've actually got a Tamiya model kit of one of these. They used them at the beginning of the war, I believe, in Poland and France, and Operation Barbarossa, and I think they use them quite a consistency in North Africa. I'm not quite sure off the top of my head what the calibre of the round is in it. I think it's got an MG34, and I'm not quite sure what the other bigger weapon is. Let's see if I can see on here. Yeah, it's got a 20mm cannon on it and a 7.92 MG34 machine gun. Yeah, I like this tank actually. It's a nice kit. The Tamiya one is. I'll put it in a video sometimes. One of the older models I made. This is another tank I like. I believe this is a Char B. I used to have a model of this when I kid. That's why I know most of the tanks, because of model making with Airfix and Matchbox and stuff like that when I was a nipper. And I had this in a set. It came in a set with two kits. One was the Char B and the other one was the Renault FT. But I did like that model, and you got a bit of like terrain, a stickum on top. But yeah, it was a nice kit, and yeah, I do like this tank. Apparently they're pretty good, but they didn't have radios in them, so I was reading one day. So their coordination wasn't good for their command and control, but it was a pretty good tank for a early period Second World War vehicle. This is an A13 cruiser tank, Mark III cruiser. I don't know if this was an earlier version of one of the Crusaders. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they were used in the first part of the war in, I believe, in North Africa, and definitely in the Battle of France. I don't think they were too effective. I think they left and abandoned a lot of the tanks there when they pulled out of Dunkirk, I believe. But interesting vehicle nevertheless. Well, I think it's using the Christie chassis, suspension stop in it, I'm sorry, which I believe a lot of tanks were using in the early war years. Achtung Panzer. The Panther. I've got two models of this, Tamiya models. I love this tank, fantastic piece of kit. The Panther. This is the captured T-34 76 used by the Finnish army. and lent over to this museum to be displayed. Wow, I've not seen a captured finished Russian tank before. This is an American or British Sherman tank, DD tank used in the D-Day landings. Also they used to swim ashore from the landing craft tanks. They made various different alterations to equipment, like Churchill flamethrower tanks, Churchill bridge lane tanks. Also with the, I believe it was the Cromwell, they put a mortar version, I think it's called the Centaur, like a howitzer for blowing up fortifications. And they used a lot of these with the DD tanks, with the skirt thing, keeping it afloat so we could swim ashore. I don't know if you can see inside here. If you look down there, you can just make out the tracks. And all the wheels of the Sherman, and then you can see a Sherman turret. The famous Tiger 1 German tank, 131, famous piece of kit this is, taken out by a Churchill, I believe in 290s, I think it was 1942, with a shot to the back. If you see there the rear of the turret, you can see where the round hit it, and then they bailed out and the British captured it. I believe this was used in Saving Private, not Saving Private Ryan, in Fury. I might be wrong about that. I know one of the tanks was down here with the Sherman was in Fury, but I've got a feeling this Tiger was in Fury as well, but I might be wrong on that one. Achtung Panzer! Achtung Panzer! German swim wagon, or whatever you pronounce it. I do like these. One's used in Saving Private Ryan, when the guy comes up and tells them the Germans are coming within that village. Panzer III. I believe a 75mm gun, I might be mistaken, or maybe it's a 40mm, I can't remember. Let's have a look. Sorry, completely wrong both of those. A 50mm main gun on this version, and two 7.92 machine guns, which I believe are the MG34. The Matilda tank, another of my favourites from the Second World War, and I believe a Valentine, which I do like the Valentine, and the Russians use this Lend-Lease on the eastern front. A German Pak 43 8.8mm gun, and a bit more of a lick at the Valentine. A Leopard Mark 1 tank.
Just the rest of the
The Chieftain tank, it's one of my favourites from when I was a kid, this tank. I've got a nice Tamiya model of this. 120mm gun, and I think it's got a GPMG in the turret. Yeah, it definitely reminds me of my childhood in the 70s and 80s. You know, Margaret Thatcher sitting on the top of one driving somewhere. The Scorpion tank, reconnaissance vehicle, light tank, used by the British when I was a kid in the 70s and 80s. Replaced, I believe, the weapon on it. It's a 76mm gun. Replaced it with a 30mm hardened cannon. Changed the turret, I believe, because of smoke issues in the turret. The T62. I got a nice Tamiya model of this last year, which I made, but I painted it in jungle cam. Sherman Firefly, another tank I really like. American M4 Sherman with a 17-pounder gun on it. The Americans didn't take our advice about putting a bigger gun in the turret, but then they saw this operating and having more effect against the Panzer IVs and Panthers and stuff, and then they changed and started developing the Easy 8. And now we're in one of the rooms with a bit more modern armour, but they've actually got a Sherman over there. Down further, you've got a Centurion Mark V, a Scorpion. I'm not quite sure what that thing is there. It might be Japanese. It looks like a Japanese tank. Nope, it was some thing the British were using, but it's really similar to the turret. It really looks like a Jap Type 95. The old Ferret Scout car. I was in service when I was a kid in the 80s. A replica of a Mark IV male version with two 6-pounder guns in it, and another one of my favourites from the Second World War, a Centaur, which I thought was a Cromwell actually for a minute, but it's Centaur. Apparently this one was used in Band of Brothers. I think that's the bit where they're during the Operation Market Garden, they're going into some village with some Shermans, and then they get attacked by a German, I think it's a Jad Panther or something like that, from what I remember. It's been years since I watched it. A few models. In fact, that's a model Panther. I've got a Tamir kit. I've got two of those, and that's the model Chieftain I've got from Tamir as well. I quite fancy, if I ever get around to making it, getting a model of that Japanese anti-tank, self-propelled gun. I can't remember what it's called, so I might have a look at the shop afterwards. They've got a really good model shop down here, and have a look if they've got any kits. I quite fancy a Japanese model tank. I've got a little, I think it's 40mm War Games Factory Chaiha, but I wouldn't mind something a bit bigger. The Humber armoured car was used, presumably by the CAM out in North Africa. And now we are seeing some more of the German heavy tanks. This is the Jad Tiger, 128mm gun. I think it got a massive gun with a 7.92 MG34 machine gun. And apparently I just read they also use the Jad Tiger on the Western Front against the Americans and British. I wasn't aware of that until just now. As well as the Eastern Front. A fantastic tank, if overly engineered. Another German armoured car. I believe this used to have a nickname Puma. The other ones I've seen might be slightly different. Definitely the bottom looks it like it, the wheels, etc. And a turret on with a gun. As you can see on that picture there, that's the one's enormous thing. You can see it very well. There's a kit of that, I believe. Yeah, there's one there on that picture. And beside it, here we go. One of my all-time favourite tanks, the King Tiger. I absolutely love this tank. What a beast. Well, absolute monster. We'll just walk around the side of the King Tiger. Look at that. There we go. This is a Humber armoured car with a Vickers machine gun, I believe, on the top. This one here, this armoured car, is a Staghound. It was an American design. I was getting it mixed up with a Greyhound, but a Greyhound's a bit different to that. Oh, I like this one over here. 77 written on it. The Achilles, which is a British, I believe, self-propelled gun, tank gun, tank killer. I think it had the 17-pounder. 17-pounder anti-tank gun on it, so we'll have a quick look. Yeah, the very good British 17-pounder anti-tank gun. Yeah, lovely piece of kit. A good model as well. I think Armour Fest do a nice model. It's not that I'm a big model maker, I do make them now and again, but I've seen it. I think it's a 176 scale, 172 scale. One of the mainstay Allied tanks of the Second World War. From when, I mean, before America entered it with Lend-Lease, right the way through, and also being sent through Lend-Lease to the Russians, the M4 German tank with the 75mm gun. The Stuart light tank, I've got, I always thought it was the M3 or M2 Stuart, but they've got an M5, I think it's a later version of it. I got a model of the earlier version of it, which I painted up in a scheme of being used by the American Marines out in Papua New Guinea, I believe it was, at the beginning of the Pacific campaign. But I know they used them all the way through in Western Europe after D-Day as a recce tank, I think, etc. The Stug 3, another one of my favourite tanks from the Second World War. Assault guns, an anti-tank, self-propelled guns. I've actually been on real version of it at a reenactment fair one day. I managed to go on there, and these guys let me have a look inside and get the turret of a Stug 4. Well, I've got a model kit of that as well. I've got the Tamiya model of that, actually, in 132 scale, I think it is. With see those bits over there at the front? That's what they use to explode mines. They use them for going through minefields. Yeah, when they blow up they're like the metal chains that would go over the top and explode the mines before the tank went. They do clear a route through the minefields. And now we come on to the Sherman 76mm armed, Americans call it the Easy 8, basically it's the Sherman that's in Fury, similar to the Sherman Firefighter we looked at earlier on. T-34. I thought it was, I just wanted to check them. This is the T-44 85 with the 85mm gun there, the bigger caliber weapon, the turret, one of the best tanks of World War II, and used by quite a lot of armed forces, I believe, for a number of years after the Second World War. I think the North Vietnamese army used it in Vietnam, and I believe it was used in Korea as well as other wars over in the Middle East, etc. And I believe this is one of the early versions of the Centurion. I didn't recognise it first of all what it was, but looking at the bottom I can see with the tracks the side skirt. That's the Centurion. Yeah. And the Chaffee, another one of my favourite tanks from the Second World War, used in the film The Battle of the Brogue with old Telly Savalas in the turret where his tank had been blown up or something. Oh, you go, get the hell off my tank. Yeah, happy days, eh? Yeah, I do like this tank. I believe it was designed as a light tank. I'm not quite sure how long they used it for. Trigger happy. This was a bit different. It's an Archer self-propelled gun, an anti-tank gun. One of the stopgap measures, I think, used by the British and Americans. It's housed in the British 17-pounder anti-tank gun. The Conqueror heavy tank, alongside the Chieftain and a Challenger 2, and a tank down there called the Tortoise, which was some big self-propelled gun thing. The Conqueror was a stopgap, I believe, and came out, and they used it over in Germany as a deterrent against the big Joseph Stalin 3 tanks.
Der Teufel ist ausgebrochen! Gottes Wille, was ist denn das? Es kommt immer noch! Mensch, der Teufel ist ausgebrochen! Gottes Wille, was ist denn das? Es kommt Teufel ist ausgebrochen! Gottes Wille, was ist denn das?
Well, I hope you enjoyed this visit to the Tank Museum in Bovington in Dorset. You should get yourself down there if you get the opportunity and take a look, because I've missed lots of the collection, I'm sure. I'm going to leave it there for today, and just looking at these chaps here in the foreground, that's what it's all about. These poor buggers who went through such horrific conditions in training and conflict in I would say defence of freedom, but humanity really lost out, didn't it, when it had to do this to each other. Hopefully live in a land, in a world one day when war is a thing of the past. Let's hope. I'm sure we can do it one day. Until the next time, I got ya.